Is now under criminal indictment for coercing Bank of America to buy Merrill Lynch, knowing that Merrill Lynch owned billions of fraudulent paper on their books. So you need to bring interest rates higher, and you need to raise the cost of speculation. The other thing that's interesting on the world markets, obviously, a country like China, which is no stranger to social unrest, is seeing what's going on, and they've been aggressively buying gold bullion. They just bought 500 tons of gold bullion, almost doubling their gold bullion position, because they know that when this global insurrection against corporate and banking occupation hits a peak, that the world will return to some extent to a gold standard. That's the only possible way you can get rid of the banking fraud.
Holding you on what
China
you
is
just
telegraphing
stated,
that
why is it,
with the
Max,
recent
that we're not...
purchases.
Max, why is it that we're not seeing any of these kinds of riots and social unrest in the United States?
Well, you know, America's a strange country. All you need to keep them pacified is give them a dozen donuts and a gun. They don't seem to have the capacity, the intellectual capacity, to think of their own self-interest in any other way than the next 5 minutes. They've had 20 years of a bull market and speculative excess, so they've really forgotten who they are as Americans. Most Americans have no idea what an American is anymore. They think being an American is to have their elbow bent 24 hours a day consuming, and they have absolutely no idea what it means to be an American. That's why a revolution, as Thomas Jefferson pointed out when the America was founded, that every once in a while the democracy needs to be freshened with a revolution. So revolutions are cyclical, just like businesses are cyclical. And Americans, I think, will refine their esprit de corps and go to the ramparts and rise up and take back their country from the banking oligarchs. I hope they do, because if they don't, they should all learn Chinese.
Chris, do you agree with the gentleman, Max Keiser, that perhaps the Europeans are progressively enough taking the lead and rising against this perceived unfair capitalist system?
Hello?
I'm not too sure about that. And actually, I would like to ask the union member a question which regards these eight, the big 8 unions in France. There has been no unity between them, and this is the first time we see them together for perhaps decades, since the Second World War. But the rifts between them have started already today. The main trade union is against the fact, against some calls to organize a 24-hour strike, and that already reveals that there is no unity between them. And of course, if they want to have their voice heard, if they want to exert any pressure on the government to implement the changes they want, perhaps they would start by being united, and this is not the case. And this is also something that the French have, that the French common worker or the common citizen has understood for a long time. There wouldn't be success without an organized structure that could eventually pressurize the government to implement those reforms. So the success might be, I'm sorry to put it this way, might be a media coup or a media bluff, but how long it would last, I personally wouldn't venture to say that this is going to be a successful demonstration. Just take the numbers, just 2 million this time. That's the latest assessment.
Chris, let me throw your thoughts over to the other panelists. Theory, do you agree that the strands of unity among the unions, which is unprecedented since World War II, are secretly enough being severed?
Well, I think that what we understood quite well, all the unions, never mind our differences at the moment, what is the most important is to be united in the struggle. Now, we will meet on Monday to see what will be next. We already know that at the mid-May we will have European demonstrations in major capital cities. Brussels would be one, Berlin, Madrid, and Prague. So, I mean, we will have a European demonstration because what we are facing in France, all the workers are facing it in Europe nowadays. But anyway, back to Monday. Next Monday, we will have to see what could be next. My union doesn't support, the idea of a general strike, because we think that general strike has to be the last.
But the theory, I beg to take issue with what you're just saying. Very briefly, is this not a manifestation, an example of that disunity that is creeping up? The general strike on Monday?
No, I think it will be...
you just mentioned that you're not in agreement with the rest of the unions.
I think that the unions who are in favor of general strike cannot go with the big... we are 8 at the moment, but we are big 2 or big 3. My union is one of them. And none of the big 2, at least, would support the idea of a general strike. So I think that the people who would like to go on that call will be in minority. I mean, we will have to talk together anyway, what could be the action next. But I'm quite skeptical about the fact that it could succeed in convincing us that the general strike could be the right answer at the moment.
Okay, Max Keiser, please consider this as, I'm going to come to you in just a bit, Max, please consider this as your very final thoughts. Briefly now, if we take what we're seeing in the streets of Paris across Europe as well as the foretaste of something yet to come, how would you picture that for us, the future?
Well, I've been saying for 3 years now on your show and on other networks and in the press that there's a growing, what I call the global insurrection against corporate occupation. And I was in Iceland 1 year before that economy exploded. And I told the bankers right there, your economy and your currency is about to explode. And they, of course, couldn't believe it. And they were fighting me tooth and nail that this was going to be the story. But now the people are on the streets and unemployed, and there's huge economic dislocation. And this wave of economic turmoil has only just getting started. So we have yet, it's very difficult to say, look at this in terms of us being in the middle of the problem. We're not even really at the beginning of the problem yet, because the real problem is when all of this money that's being printed around the world to pay off these corrupt bankers enters the general economy in the form of inflation and hyperinflation, like Weimar Germany in the 1920s.
Well, gentlemen, Kusai Kedra, I'm afraid we don't have any time left. Just 10 seconds, please. Your very final thoughts, Kusai?
Very quickly, I just want to say that the dialectics of power impose on the trade unions to act unitedly, and this is not the case for the moment.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it here. This is the end of the show. A big thank you to Kusai Kedri in Paris, Max Keiser in Paris again, and over the phone lines from Paris, Thierry Didier. And to you for watching us. Throw us your thoughts through the email address, and for more information, how about trying our website? This show will return. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Juvin Zarvan.